Hi, I'm Saul Tannenbaum. I'm a citizen journalist in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And last winter during Snowmegadon, I became the unshoveled sidewalk guy in the city of Cambridge. And this is how it happened. I didn't actually care about the snow. I cared about the customer service muddle that was the Cambridge Department of Public Works. Cambridge is a city where if you see a rat on a pile of garbage on an unshoveled sidewalk, there's one phone number about the rat, another about the garbage, another about the snow. But then it snowed, and suddenly snow removal was important. Now let me take a step back and set some context. If we were across the river in Boston, we'd be dealing with a technology stack that starts with the mayor's Citizen Connect smartphone app and funnels data into the City of Boston GIS hub, which maps all the complaints and lets you extract data and do analysis. But I was in Cambridge, which is the hub of innovation, and this is what we had back then. Yes, that is a web form. Yes, that is an 800 hard-coded list of 800 streets in the city of Cambridge. Yes, you click submit. You get no acknowledgement, but each submission is a public record under the Massachusetts Public Records Law, and you can submit a FOIA request for them, which I did naively, and at the request of the Commissioner of Department of Public Works, I handed her a plain white envelope with $12.75 in cash to cover the request, the cost of the request, put the data in Google Fusion Maps, and showed where there were people not cleaning up their snow. And then I was ready to move on from that. But then it snowed, and it snowed again, and it snowed again, and clearing snow became the single most important municipal issue for most of the Northeast. Now, I had learned something from the first request, and that was that the data was siloed, that the complaints were different from the violations, and needed both data sets to do some analysis of the city's effectiveness, which I did on the second time around. But nobody actually cared about that. They cared about the maps because they showed interesting stories. I mean, take a look at Chestnut Street. Somebody did, in fact, sit down one night at their web browser and turned in all their neighbors, or I assume it's their neighbors. Why they did that, I don't know. This became so popular that the city council had to get involved, asking that the city manager make the data available routinely. Well, that order passed. What that would mean is I wouldn't have to pay cost. I sent a request to the Commissioner of Public Works, and her response was that, my request and the City Council order were not the same thing. Well, if by not the same thing she meant cut and paste one from the other to be completely identical, she had a point. But she also said she had to take the time to write an extensive report, which I provide for you here. That's her extensive report. Forget for a moment that the count of tickets and violations were wrong, a one-off error. And that she said the data needed to be in tables. Well, a year has passed, and now Cambridge has its own smartphone app because every city has to have a smartphone app. Unfortunately, it didn't snow this winter, so I couldn't report unshoveled sidewalks. So I had to slum and report a pothole. Here's my pothole. You can even see it in the Google Street View thing a few years earlier. It took a while to develop. That's a cheap shot. The smartphone app doesn't really do 8-bit Nintendo graphics, but it really should. It geolocated me. I took a picture, I sent it in, and then a couple of days later I got the response back that the pothole had been fixed. Well, I went to take a look, and there it was. It took a couple of days back and forth in email, and it turns out that the smartphone app doesn't actually tell the city staff the location of the pothole. It reverse geocodes the address to what it thinks it should be. And funny thing about it, they fixed something in front of the India Pavilion restaurant, which isn't exactly where Google Maps thinks it is. It's down the street and across the block. Oh, and the picture I sent in, well, the city's workflow, when it provides the picture to the city staff, the file doesn't actually have the extension attached, and nobody had trained the city staff and how to open a file that did not have an extension. I'm promised all this will be fixed in the next release of the smartphone app, which is now a couple of months overdue. I hope I played a small part in that. Thank you.